Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily. I'm David Rothkopf. I'm joined by Riley Fessler, thrilled to be not too far from two brand new pandas at the Washington Zoo. You must be very happy this morning, Riley.
I sure am. I actually walked down by the zoo yesterday to get coffee, and there were at least a dozen news crews just standing on the street waiting for the pandas to drive up, which seemed a little unnecessary to me. But
They came in the Panda Express from FedEx as 777, and then I think they're there now. One of them's supposed to be kind of a boisterous male. The other is supposed to be a more even-tempered female. How strange that would be the combo. But it's a big day here in Washington. Finally, some good news. Some good news in the U.S.-China relationship. You know, we could use a little of that. But let's ask Minna to start us off with a story from somewhere in the world.
Absolutely. The Biden administration warned Israel in a letter that it must improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza within 30 days or risk jeopardizing U.S. military aid. The letter outlines specific demands, including allowing at least 350 trucks of aid daily and facilitating humanitarian movements. Despite ongoing military support, the U.S. emphasized that future aid could be at risk due to Israel's recent restrictions on aid deliveries. In response, Israel has started to allow aid trucks into Gaza while asserting its commitment to humanitarian assistance amid military operations against Hamas.
One of the reasons the United States did this is because it's the law. It's the law in the United States that you have to hear from your allies and people you're providing aid with regarding whether they're living up to international obligations. And in this particular case, the letter would never have had to be sent if there were not a problem. It's the right thing to send the letter in addition to being an obligation. I have heard, some groups, the little rumblings, because in election time, people are always trying to gain an advantage, saying, why are you pressuring Israel now? It's the law. Furthermore, it is not a bad thing to pressure Israel to do the right thing. It strengthens Israel's standing internationally and security if Israel does the right thing. It puts the United States into a difficult position if Israel hasn't done the right thing and obligates us, because the Israelis know the law as well as we do, to send a letter like this. So there's nothing, anti-Israel about this. It is pro-law, pro-decency, pro-human being, and I was glad to see it. Riley?
Elon Musk has become a significant financial backer of Donald Trump's 2024 presidential campaign, contributing around $75 million to his pro-Trump super PAC called the America PAC between July and September.
Called Team Voldemort.
Yeah. We Love Evil.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Truly, the goofiest set of Bond villains you've ever seen in your life, lining up behind the worst possible policies and candidate ever. Sorry to interrupt you, Riley. I should be interrupting Minna. I didn't interrupt her at all.
You should interrupt us equally.
You'll get me next time.
Yeah, okay. I promise.
This PAC, which focuses on mobilizing voters in key battleground states, spent $72 million during this period and is essential to Trump's election strategy, given his campaign's reliance on external groups for voter outreach. I should also note that Musk was the only contributor to the super PAC during that time, at least according to the report I read. Musk is now actively campaigning for Trump, including appearances at rallies and organizing events in Pennsylvania. The PAC, however, has faced challenges with staffing and contractors in its canvassing efforts.
Yeah, well, let's see. Will this turn out to be Musk's worst investment ever, or will that be Twitter? this certainly doesn't help him with Twitter. Remember when he said Twitter needs to be, nonpartisan and unbiased? And then, it became clear that the reason he bought Twitter was to make it partisan and biased. Um, but Twitter has not lost all its value. Giving money to this PAC as of November 6th may have lost all of this money. And it may put Musk in a very difficult position with future U.S. administrations. And since he is a corporate welfare child who depends entirely on the United States government for the well-being of his companies, that might not be a great thing. And I'm not saying that like a Democratic administration might, have recriminations against him and make him pay the price. I'm saying it because, a fair-minded Congress might say, well, let's investigate how close he is to Russia. And is this defense contractor undermining U.S. national security? And is this owner of a big social media platform undercutting, American elections, seeking to manipulate them by pumping disinformation into the sort of ecosystem of the campaign? So I don't know. Doesn't seem like a smart move to me on the part of Musk. But with each and every passing day, I think Musk is driven more by evil and stupid impulse and less by smart. But perhaps that's unfair since he's the richest man in the world, and I am number 6,342,546 on the list. Minna is probably higher up the list than I am.
That's not so bad.
Thanks.
All things
Minna.
Considered.
Thanks. The fact that half the people in the world live on $3 a day or something like that is puts it makes it like it's something I shouldn't joke about. By the way, Riley, I don't mean to interrupt Minna with a comment for Riley, but I did get a comment on Twitter or some social media platform last evening saying, "Stop saying pandas aren't bears. Some kinds of pandas aren't bears. Red pandas aren't bears. They're part of the raccoon family. But the main big, giant pandas are actually members of the bear family." And this sounded very authoritative. I did not spend 1 minute looking it up. Sorry, whoever sent it. But I did take the moment to observe it. And ladies and gentlemen, you can hear in the background our research team hard at work trying to confirm this as Riley's little fingers.
Yep.
Yeah.
That person was correct. The giant panda is a bear species endemic to China. So there you go.
I was wrong, and I'm big enough to admit it.
But red pandas, I believe you're correct.
Are kind of raccoons, yeah.
Yeah, those are cute too.
They are, but I don't. You didn't live in Washington a few years ago when a red panda escaped the Washington Zoo.
Oh no!
And they found it like 6 blocks away, living in somebody's backyard.
That could have been me. It could have been living in my backyard.
You would have been happy. You wouldn't have given it back. That's my red panda.
That's such a cute story.
I would have a fun new pet.
Yeah, you would have a fun new pet. Although, well, in your neighborhood, there's a lot of bamboo. They could be very happy. I once lived in your neighborhood, and our yard had loads of bamboo, and we would every spring cut down all the bamboo down to 4 inches from the ground. And then by, summertime, it was 32 feet high. I mean, it grows real fast. That's, again, if you aren't a subscriber, a regular listener to the DSR Daily, where would you get information like this? You wouldn't. No other. I guarantee you, no other daily news pod anywhere in the podosphere is talking about the scientific background of pandas or about the speed with which bamboo grows. No extra charge, folks.
That's what gives us our edge.
It is those little tidbits, because we give of ourselves, Minna. We give of ourselves.
That's so true.
Do you have a story to give of us? To give us?
I do, also about PACs. So staying on theme, the cryptocurrency industry is making a significant impact on congressional elections, becoming one of the largest outside spenders without directly mentioning crypto in their ads. Candidates from both parties are receiving support from cryptocurrency-linked super PACs, which have collectively spent over $125 million this cycle, focusing on positive messaging about the candidates rather than specific cryptocurrency issues. Despite the industry's substantial financial backing, many candidates preferred not to highlight their connection to cryptocurrency in their campaigns.
Okay, listen, you guys are youngs. I'm an old, okay? But when I see cryptocurrency, I think big scam. Big scam. I see a kind of a market where people with some capital can go and create a currency, get it run up by a bunch of nincompoops who don't understand where the value comes from, and be the people who get out first when it's high after it starts to collapse and lose all its value. Because, of course, it has no intrinsic value and is not regulated in any meaningful way. Does that, when I say that, does that make me sound old to you guys? You have like huge reserves of crypto.
I think it makes you sound correct.
I agree.
Okay, well, Donald Trump, in the midst of his political campaign, which is going extremely well, oh my gosh, standing on stage, bopping around a little bit, not dropping. Oh, no, that's good, Riley. You've really got it down. Mm-hmm. And he did the little dance move for those of you who are not watching.
But if you go on YouTube, you can watch.
You can
see for yourself.
And go on YouTube. I strongly encourage it. It's a more complete experience. But Trump tried to launch a cryptocurrency last week. And how'd that go? Not well. They sold $5 million worth of this cryptocurrency. Now, I view all these Trump schemes as money laundering. Foreign governments get to come in, give a bunch of money. Trump benefits from it, and it's an easy way to pay him off. But having said that, it was a complete flop. And I had a great joke on Twitter calling it Itsy Bitsy Coin. Do you see what I did there? Like Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Very clever.
But I said Itsy Bitsy Coin, like so it's really small.
Yeah.
Okay, just trying to explain that. and so weirdly, my great joke landed with a thud. Strangely, people did not find it funny. I was very hurt by that. And if you were one of the people who saw it and didn't think it was funny, Riley, what's your final story for the day, Riley?
My final story is that the Supreme Court yesterday overturned a decision that had allowed 18 to 20-year-olds to openly carry guns during emergencies in Pennsylvania, upholding a ban on such actions during declared states of emergency. This ruling, which did not note any dissents, comes amid significant changes in firearm laws following the 2022 Supreme Court decision that expanded gun rights, requiring restrictions to be rooted in historical precedent. While several age restrictions have been struck down since then, Pennsylvania officials argued that limiting guns to those 21 and older has a long history dating back to the 1850s. The Supreme Court directed the Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to reconsider the case in light of a recent decision protecting domestic violence victims.
Well, that's semi-decent news out of a court. As everybody knows who follows us, I'm a extremist when it comes to guns. I don't think anybody has a reason to have a gun, but certainly keeping them out of the hands of kids seems like a good idea to me. Let's keep them out of the hands of abusers and kids and felons and people with mental illness. I don't know. Anybody. Certainly let's keep weapons of war out of the hands of everybody, and like, semi-automatic weapons, and let's see if we really need to have everybody have lots and lots of guns. 3% of Americans own half of our 400 million guns. Those 3% of Americans average 17 guns each. Like, those houses need to be labeled. Gun nut lives here. Somebody with an arsenal in his basement lives here. But frankly, if you think you need to have 17 guns, and you're not, the local National Guard outpost, you need to have your head examined. I mean, nobody needs to have 17 guns, and you say, well, we need it because we're going hunting. Against what? An armed battalion of some enemy army. Anyway, I applaud anything that moves us in the direction of gun sanity. Minna, you have the privilege and the honor of the last story, which in the sheet that I was given, your last story was actually your second to last story, but something seems to have happened and they switched around. I don't even know how that happened.
I switched them because I thought we deserved to end on some good news, which is
some seeming good news.
Some seemingly good news, but I'm thinking optimistically here, but yes.
Yeah.
On the first day of early voting in Georgia, a record 187,973 votes were cast in person, surpassing the previously recorded 136,000 set in 2020.
Do you want to do a story that has fewer numbers in it?
Maybe this early in the morning, yeah.
So basically the punchline is that in the past, there 130,000 people showed up in the biggest Georgia day of early voting ever, and they achieved that by 1:30 yesterday. They do show up disproportionately, and the crowd looked, it was in precincts that are good for Democrats and so forth, and it was such a huge turnout that it actually has some of the analysts of these things going, maybe we've got this wrong. But one of the big stories of this election concerns post-Roe American election habits. Because ever since Roe was overturned, in every election, there has been much higher Democratic turnout, much higher female turnout, much more crossover than the pollsters projected. And if that continues in this election, that is going to be very important. And it could well be that is the case. Although, it could just be people recognize that Kamala Harris is a capable, competent, talented, experienced candidate with good policies that'll help people, and that Donald Trump is a lunatic. And if you ever want any proof of that, and I know you're busy, but go just listen to any one of her interviews. Go to her interview with Charlemagne the God that took place yesterday afternoon, where she was really probed on a whole bunch of interesting issues and responded extremely well. And then watch Trump in one of the few interviews he actually did yesterday, because he canceled a bunch of them, at the Chicago Economic Club, where he was probed by the editor-in-chief of Bloomberg on a wide variety of issues, and either lied, deflected, or sometimes lied and deflected. It was absolutely pathetic performance. The moderator kept going, well, let's get back to the question I asked. And when Trump was challenged on things like his views on tariffs, which he said he loves, and he said tariffs just need a good PR agent, then people will realize that they're good for them. And the guy challenged him and said, well, economists don't agree with you, and it's going to cost people a lot of money. Trump then attacked the moderator And then he said, well, the Wall Street Journal doesn't agree with you. And then he attacked the Wall Street Journal. He just can't handle the truth. And I think maybe that's going to come through in the election. If you're interested in my views on this, and you may not be, but on the other hand, you're here, so maybe you are interested in my views on this, go to my latest Substack, which talks about the fact that Kamala Harris is running a spectacularly good campaign, and all the pundits who are saying she isn't are wrong. And I try to lay it out in terms of facts, like the one that Minna just ended our day with here, which is just, I mean, that's not speculation. That's not a poll. That's hard data that says people are showing up. And when that happens, it's usually good for Democrats. So that's what we leave you with today. Leave you on a positive note. The pandas are where the pandas ought to be. The early voting is happening. If you're in a place where you can vote early, go vote early. It is much better for you to vote early because it shows up, it gives momentum, and it also says to Democratic volunteers who are following these things, oh, I don't have to go to that person anymore. They've checked their box. We can focus on the people who we really need to focus on. It's win-win, as our friend Simon Rosenberg often says. And by the way, Simon and company will be with us again tomorrow to provide us with an election update. Later today, we'll have a conversation about that economic discussion in Chicago that you don't want to miss, and maybe about Trump's nuttiness and maybe about Musk. Who knows? It'll be a really good one because it's Deep State Radio, the mothership, because it's Wednesday. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you, Riley. Thank you, Minna. And we'll see you tomorrow.